Yes. Philip. No, we're just in contact with our production team in City Center. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'd like to do a small interview also. No, Eric, by all means, we are law-abiding citizens. So we are driving on the left side, certainly with Bonacius here, who is very ready for the day. And we are law-abiding by all means. Yes, sir. Great. Yes. Eric amesema to involve shortly.
Is it because of the state of the road or they are too slow?
No, they're just generally driving slow. Also partly because of the production that's going on.
Kidogo.
Are you comfortable really?
Today is not the day for comfort, sorry. Unfortunately. Today is not the day of comfort. We will rest later. Fidel. Nisaidie na simu yako. I can't use the internet here because it's on call. All right, Eric, that's right. We want to engage him on all of that right now, but Bwana CS has been binging on the Nation products right here, Business Daily, Daily Nation, and getting our insights and what we have documented for Kenyans to know about the national budget 2026-2027 this year. However, I want to engage him a bit on the spend side of things. One, on the government's approach towards adoption of zero-based budgeting against incremental budgeting as it were previously. Bwana CS, this 2026-2027 budget is under serious, sharp criticism from the opposition, from civil society, and the like. And one of the things that you have been championing so much has been the adoption of zero-based budgeting against incremental budgeting. They said this is a bloated budget. I'd like to get it right from you where we are at with the adoption of zero-based budgeting against incremental budgeting before I ask the second question after that.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me point out that a lot of comments, negative comments around the size of the budget is informed by, I think many of these people who are commenting have not looked at the details of the budget to just determine what has cost the budget to go to 4.8 trillion. If you look at the budget, you'll realize that the one line that has the highest increase is the line that we call CFS, or Consolidated Funds.
Correct.
CFS is basically debt repayment and pensions, and these are figures or numbers that you cannot change.
Correct.
Because if debts become payable, you'll have to pay them.
Correct.
And if pensions become payable, you'll have to pay them.
And
you know, we have been operating a pension system which is not contributory, so it is the government paying for pension. So you will find that pension payment, CFS payment has increased from 1.36 to 1.501 trillion. So that is the heaviest increase in the budget. It is not even the recurrent expenditure some people want to believe. But now let me talk about zero-based budgeting. Remember, we indicated last year that this year will be the first year for implementation of the zero-based budgeting.
Correct.
And we exactly implemented that. But you see, for us to actualize full potential of zero-based budgeting, it will take about 3 years. So this is the first year of implementation. There are still challenges, but I am happy that largely we prepared our budget based on zero-based budgeting, where every expenditure was justified before being captured. And that is why you will see, for example, in certain state departments like energy, we have reduced the budget for energy significantly to now only 35 billion. Why? Because we realized out of this engagement that a lot of projects that are being funded through that state department are commercially viable projects that can easily be implemented outside the normal budgeting process. And that is why we have taken them out and planning to support or finance those projects through the National Infrastructure Fund and PPP models. So we have largely prepared this budget on the basis of justification of every expenditure, as opposed to what has previously been the case of incremental budget. But I wouldn't say it is perfect, because this is the first year of implementation. There is already a tool that we have that we gave to state departments and various MDAs to use, and that tool has been used, but it is still under being tested and refined. So in the next financial year, it will be better. And the third financial year, it should be perfect. So that is where we are as of now.
Okay, great. The reason why I was asking about the adoption of zero-based budgeting is because you have also been a proponent of doing away with supplementary budgets. And we have seen that in the last financial year, you've only had one supplementary budget. Do you foresee a time when we will not have any supplementary budgets, given the size of the budget, particularly in this 2026-2027 financial year?
Yes, I've actually been a proponent of proper planning. And I've said before that the problem that we have, that we are not linking plans to budgets. And that is why in my speech today, you will hear a lot of emphasis on planning and what we intend to do and introduce the planning bill. Remember, in this country, we have laws governing public finance management. We have laws governing procurement. We have laws guiding on asset management, but we don't have any law on national planning. And so that is a law that we are going to introduce this year, so that we can have proper plans. Because again, if you don't plan well, then you cannot have a good budget and even a good financial plan. Now, that is one thing that we are going to do. But I want to just point out that last year, if you noticed, we tried as much as possible to capture most of the expenditure and align the budget to reality. And that is why, if were it not for some disruptions that we have seen, especially the war in the Middle East and a bit of underperformance of KRA, we were literally not going to have, there was going to be no need really for supplementary budget. But we've done one supplementary budget. We may bring a second one, but the second one we are bringing is just to align donor-funded projects, and not really to put more expenditure into the supplementary budget. But that is one first step. In this financial year, I am looking at a budget that, if we have to do supplementary budget, should be one. But I project that we may do a supplementary budget, because this war is very difficult to assess as at now. And if the war is going to continue, then we may be forced to again reassess our expenditure to align it to the realities and the revenue collection. But going forward, and in the event that there is no disturbance and there is no emergency like flooding, like drought or anything of that nature, we should have only one budget. In the event we have some disruptions or shocks, whether internal or external, then obviously supplementary budget may be necessary. But I'm looking at a situation where this country, we, in the next 2 or so years, in the event there is no disruption, we should not have any supplementary budget at all. Because that is the ideal. That is where we should go. That is what good planning is all about.
All right, fair point. Let's now handle the elephant in the room, Bona CS. 1.01 trillion in deficit. How do we plan to plug this? And why I ask this question is because our revenue raising measures are not optimal. One, KRA has been making quite some good progress around that, digitization, reaching out to Kenyans, a lot more tax amnesty programs we have seen coming up, especially from the previous finance bills that have been passed, finance acts, I must mention. But what's the catch? How are we going to raise this 1.01 trillion Kenyan shillings, given that we are also exceeding our runway as far as foreign or international debt is concerned?
Yeah, actually it is 1.1 trillion, 1.11 trillion. That is the deficit that is being proposed or projected. Yes, there is still opportunities under revenue collection and domestic revenue mobilization, because we still believe and we know that KRA is not performing optimally. Remember, there was a period of GDP as ordinary revenue. Now it has come down to just, slightly over 14%. That means clearly either A, we come from people who are not those other people. Those are and they try to push on them, and I think that is wrong. We need to allow broadening of the tax base, bring everyone who is supposed to pay taxes. There should be no excuse or at all, because those of us, you and I, who are on payroll, we pay taxes. And we have no choice. We cannot even, there's no discussion. But there are people who also make even probably more decent income than what you make, actually go scot-free. And that is one thing that we need to avoid. So we are working around that space. Looking at the finance bill today, you will see a lot of reforms in that line. And again, also, we are doing a lot in terms of administrative measures at the KRA to make sure that it becomes more efficient. But now, coming to your question about how do we plug this deficit, obviously, deficit can only be financed through two things, because that is the deficit after grants. You can only finance it through actually you finance deficit through one thing, that's borrowing. But the borrowing can be both domestic and external.
Correct.
External borrowing is not very certain.
Correct.
Now, first, Kenya has moved to a level where getting concessional loans from the multilaterals is becoming not easy, because they're looking at Kenya as a big economy.
Yeah.
We are not a struggling economy, so to speak. So the multilaterals are there, but they are not as we are not, that space is not so open to us, because they're saying we have the capacity now to go and get our funding through commercial borrowing. Now, the commercial borrowing, looking at the environment today, is not a very good option.
The macros
you
are
know,
not
the macros are not good globally. You know, when you have an environment with high inflation, an environment with the economic disruptions, supply chain disruptions and shocks, obviously people will be asking for more to give you money. The investors are asking for more. So you'll find that the rates are now not very, very appealing and very attractive. So now what you are left with is also to come domestic. Now, coming to domestic also has its challenges. One, you are crowding out the private sector. Two, the interest rates will start rising. So we are balancing these two, and that is why you can see for external borrowing we have only projected about 116 billion, and the rest is from domestic borrowing. But there are some negotiations that we are carrying out. I will tell you, we are a bit lucky that our discussion with the World Bank is progressing well. If that happens, then we'll reduce the domestic borrowing.
Great. CS says little runway to go for external debt particularly, but we'll be engaging him shortly a lot more to discuss this, and of course we'll get into the finance bill later on. Back to you, Eric, Mariam and Philaris in studio.
You know, you need go to talked that he could release something like that. And then now you see Rigiji says 3.6 trillion budget. Then now they come and say 4.3. Now they are at 4.3. Tomorrow they will be at 5. Oh my God.
Anyway.